forgotten. Chapter 3. It was a sunny day, with a gentle breeze and a clear sky that gave a false sense of calm. Lucas had decided to spend that day off with his mother, knowing that her health had given her reasons for concern lately. He was determined to give her a nice, quiet day, one where they could forget their worries, even if it was just for a few hours. They sat together at the entrance of the house, a place they both loved and where they used to spend time as a family. Little Lily ran around the garden, laughing and playing with a worn-out rag doll, while Lucas and his mother watched in silence, enjoying the moment. Lily's innocent laughter seemed to fill the space with life, and Lucas couldn't help but smile, feeling a warmth that, in these difficult times, was rare to find. "Mom," Lucas said suddenly in a soft tone, "are you okay? You seem calm today." Her mother nodded, watching little Lily play. "I'm fine, son, although," he paused, sighing, "I can't help but think of your father. I wonder if he's in a place like this too, enjoying the sun and remembering us." Suddenly, the sound of footsteps could be heard approaching down the driveway. Lucas looked up to see a mailman, a serious man in a dusty uniform, standing in front of them. The man wore a grim expression as he pulled a letter out of his bag. As he approached, he held the letter out to Lucas's mother, who took it with shaking hands. Lucas watched in silence, his heart racing, not yet knowing the depth of what that letter contained. Lucas's mother carefully opened the envelope, and as she read, her eyes filled with tears. The letter was short, but its words carried an overwhelming weight. Lucas's father had fallen in combat. The words read hard and cold. He died in service in defense of his country. Lucas felt like he was going out of breath. He stared at his mother, who had dropped the letter to the floor as she covered her face with her hands, stifling a sob. His heart sank at the sight of her devastated state, knowing that he too had lost his hero, his father. Lily, oblivious to the pain surrounding them, approached curiously, taking her mother's hand without understanding why she was crying. "Mom, what's wrong?" Lily asked, looking at her with her big, innocent eyes. Lucas bent down and hugged his little sister, feeling the need to protect her, to transmit to her strength that he himself still didn't know where to get it from. Dad isn't coming home for a while, Lily," he whispered, feeling like each word was another wound in his heart. Lily didn't answer, and she just looked at Lucas with confusion that soon gave way to tears. The innocence of her childhood had been shattered in an instant, and now she too shared the weight of that loss. The following days were dark and full of pain for the family. Lucas tried to console his mother, but every look, every corner of the house, seemed to be impregnated with the absence of his father. The young man felt the weight of responsibilities growing on his shoulders. Now it was he who had to be the strong figure for his mother and sister, who had to maintain the home and take care of them in memory of his father, who had given his life for a country that now only left them a cold farewell letter. Anger and pain mixed inside him, creating a determination he was only just beginning to understand. He knew his life would change forever, and in that moment, amidst the darkness of loss, a spark of strength began to burn within him. He knew he had to be strong, not just for himself, but for his mother and Lily, who now looked to him as the new pillar of their shattered family. Lori arrived at Lucas's house that same afternoon. She had heard the news and did not hesitate to go over to accompany the family in the darkest moment they had faced. Upon entering, she found Lucas hugging his mother, both wrapped in silent tears that seemed to fill the room with tangible pain. Little Lily was sitting to one side, tears sliding down her cheeks, but her confusion and innocence made it impossible for her to fully understand the weight of that loss. Still, seeing her cry for a pain she did not understand broke the hearts of everyone present even more. Lori felt her own strength falter. The pain that permeated that house was so intense that it seemed to fill every corner, like a shadow that darkened everything. She approached Lucas and placed a gentle hand on his shoulder, trying to offer him some comfort. Lucas looked up at her, and for a moment, his eyes showed a mixture of rage, sadness, and hopelessness that was impossible for him to hide. It was a pain that had changed him, a silent fury that burned within him. I'm here, Lucas," Lori whispered, gently squeezing his shoulder. "You're not alone." But Lucas barely reacted. His tears continued to fall, as if each one carried with it a piece of that deep sadness. Anger mixed with pain, and in his chest he felt a hatred he had never experienced before. It was a hatred that consumed him, that filled him with dark thoughts, with a senseless thirst for revenge. That night, Lucas could not sleep. Memories of his father, of the happy moments they had shared, passed before his eyes like an endless film. But now those memories did not bring him peace, but a deep bitterness, a wound that seemed to have no cure. The next day, Lucas didn't even go to college. He spent the entire day in his room, lost in his thoughts. When he finally decided to go back to class, his mind was still caught up in that whirlwind of emotions. Although he was physically present in the classroom, his gaze was lost in a distant point, fixed on the void. Lori tried to talk to him, to bring him back to reality, but Lucas barely responded. He seemed absent, trapped in a world of memories and pain. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw his father's face. That strong man, his protector, his hero. He remembered the moments when he had taught him how to ride a bike as a child, the nights when he had told him stories before bed, the advice he had given him, the life lessons that now, more than ever, made sense. And now he was gone, and Lucas felt that everything had changed forever. "Lucas," Lori whispered to him during one of her breaks between classes, gently taking his hand. "Are you okay?" Lucas barely nodded, but his expression was still that of someone who was no longer entirely present. "I don't know, Lori. I feel like I can't stand it." "You're strong, Lucas. You've been strong for your mother, for Lily. And I'm here for you if you need me," Lori said, trying to give him some hope. Lucas knew she was right, but at that moment words seemed insufficient. However, just having Lori by his side gave him a reason to stay standing, to not give in to the pain that was devouring him. He knew he couldn't stay trapped in the darkness, that he had to find a way to move forward, to honor his father's memory, even if the hate and pain were still latent inside him. As he looked ahead, he knew his life had changed forever. The innocent young man he once was gone. Now, in his place was a man determined to face a world that had taken his father from him and to protect those he still loved with everything he had left. Lucas started attending classes again, but his mind was still stuck in pain and loss. Teachers noticed his distraction. Classmates saw him as a shadow of his former self, and Lori did her best to keep him grounded in reality. During each break between classes, she would seek him out, take his hand, and comfort him with soft words, with gestures that said more than any speech. However, Lucas's gaze always seemed lost, as if he lived in a place no one else could reach. One afternoon, while they were both on campus, sitting under an old oak tree, Lori tried once again to help him open up. "Lucas, you can't keep going like this. I know it hurts. I know it hurts more than you can explain, but you have to try to find a way to move on," she said, her voice full of concern. Lucas nodded slowly, but his gaze remained fixed on the ground. There was something inside him that he couldn't express, a mixture of guilt, sadness and anger that he didn't know how to handle. "I don't know how to do it, Lori. My dad, he was always the one who kept us together, the one who protected us. And now, I don't know what to do without him," she answered, her voice breaking. Lori hugged him, wrapping her arms around him, as if she wanted to protect him from all the pain in the world. "You're not alone, Lucas. You have your mother, Lily. And you have me. We're going to get through this together, I promise." At that moment, a messenger came running towards them. "Lucas Carter, the director wants to see you in the office. It's urgent," he announced seriously. Lucas felt a knot in his stomach as he walked to the principal's office, closely followed by Lori. When he arrived, the principal, a man with a compassionate look, invited him to sit down. "Lucas, I'm sorry to have to tell you this right now, but your mother has been taken to the hospital. One of your neighbors called us to let us know. Apparently, she fainted at home." Lucas's heart stopped for a moment. His hands began to shake. "Is he okay? What happened to him?" he asked, his voice filled with desperation. "I don't have all the details, son, but it seems he was very weak. Take your time, you can go right now. Lori, please go with him." Lori nodded, taking Lucas's hand to snap him out of his daze. "Come on, Lucas, it'll be okay. But we have to go quickly." They both ran to the tram stop, their thoughts filled with worry. Upon arriving at the hospital, they found the neighbor in the waiting room, who explained to them what had happened. Lucas's mother had been neglecting her health, mired in grief and sadness over the loss of her husband. The doctors reported that she needed rest, proper nutrition, and peace to recover. Lucas walked into the room where his mother was lying. Her face, normally full of strength, now looked pale and tired. He walked over to her and took her hand. "Mom, why didn't you tell me you felt that way?" she asked with a lump in her throat. "I didn't want to worry you, son. You already have enough with everything that's happened," she answered with a weak voice. "Don't do this again. Mom, we need you. Lily and I need you. You have to take care of yourself, please." Lori walked in at that moment, carrying a small bag of food she had picked up along the way. "Madam, Lucas is right. It is important that you take care of yourself. You are not alone in this," he said with a reassuring smile. Lucas's mother smiled weakly back, grateful for Lori's presence in their lives. Lucas knew he had to take control of the situation. He couldn't afford to lose his mother, too. He decided to cut back on his hours at the cafeteria to spend more time at home and make sure his mother ate and rested properly. He also made an effort to be more present for Lily, who, though young, was beginning to feel the impact of her father's absence and her mother's fragility. As the days passed, Lucas held on to his responsibility even tighter. Despite his own pain, he knew he had to be the pillar that kept his family standing. Lori remained by his side, his constant support, helping him find moments of comfort amidst the chaos. But Lucas still had a long road ahead of him to face his own internal storm and figure out how to rebuild his life after everything he had lost. After 3 days in the hospital, Lucas finally brought his mother back home. Although she was still weak, she seemed more stable, but the sadness was still reflected in her eyes. Lucas arranged everything at home so that his mother would be as comfortable as possible, arranging a small space in the living room where she could rest while he tended to Lily and prepared meals. The next day, Lucas decided to go to the university to inform his teachers that he would not be able to attend that week. He arrived early, dressed in a wrinkled shirt, and with an air of tiredness that he could not hide. Upon entering the administrative office, he met the director, who gave him a sympathetic look. "Lucas, is everything okay?" the director asked, leaning forward slightly from his desk. "No, sir. My mother is still recovering, and I need to stay home to take care of her. I want to let you know that I won't be attending school this week, but I'll do my best to catch up on my pending assignments, Lucas said, trying hard to maintain his composure. The director nodded slowly. I'm so sorry about what you're going through, Lucas. Don't worry about classes. We'll talk to your teachers so they understand the situation. Focus on your family right now. Lucas thanked her with a slight nod before leaving the office. As he walked through the halls of the university, he felt the weight of his classmates' gazes. Some greeted him with shy gestures of solidarity, while others simply watched him in silence. It was then that he met Lori, who was waiting for him near the biology classroom. "How's your mom?" Lori asked, approaching him with her usual warmth. "Better, but he still needs rest." "I'm exhausted, Lori. All this—" Lucas said, stopping and letting his words hang in the air. Lori took him by the hand and led him to a bench near the main garden. They sat in silence for a few minutes, the sound of leaves rustling in the wind filling the space between them. "Lucas, you don't have to face everything alone. I'm here to help you, always." Her voice was firm but gentle, an anchor in Lucas' turbulent sea of emotions. He sighed and looked directly into her eyes for the first time in days. "Thanks, Lori. I don't know what I would do without you." "You don't have to know. Just make sure you take care of yourself, too. Your mom needs you to be strong, but you can't be strong if you don't give yourself a break," she replied, squeezing his hand tenderly. Lucas nodded, knowing she was right. Even though his instincts told him he should be the pillar for everyone, he understood that accepting help was not a sign of weakness. After saying goodbye to Lori, he returned home with a small sense of relief. As he entered, he found his mother awake, sitting by the window with Lily playing at her feet. His mother looked at him with a slight smile. "Thank you for everything, son. I know it's not easy, but I'm very proud of you," she said in a warm tone that managed to pierce the layer of sadness that covered Lucas. "You don't have to thank me, Mom. We're a family, and together we'll get through this," Lucas replied, leaning over to hug her. That night, as everyone else slept, Lucas allowed himself a moment to reflect. His life had changed drastically in such a short time, but he knew he had to find the strength to keep going. With Lori by his side and the love of his family, he decided he would do everything he could to build a future, even in the midst of adversity. Despite Lori's constant companionship and unwavering support, depression began to take deep root in Lucas. There were days when he felt trapped in a dark tunnel, where Lori's comforting words were a distant echo. The weight of responsibilities, worries, and grief kept him awake at night, staring at the ceiling as memories of his father consumed him. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw his father's face, his warm smile, the firmness of his words, the life lessons he had taught him. But those happy memories were quickly replaced by the emptiness of his absence. He constantly wondered what it would be like if his father were there to share the burden, to guide him. Guilt crept into his thoughts, reminding him that he hadn't done enough, even though he knew he couldn't have changed a thing. His mother, though she tried to appear strong, was slowly weakening. The illness was not obvious, but Lucas could see it in the small details. The trembling in her hands when holding a cup of tea, her difficulty getting up in the mornings, the long pauses in the middle of a conversation. Lily, too young to understand everything, was still a light in the house, but even she was beginning to sense the sadness that enveloped her family. Lucas tried to keep things normal. He went to school some days, but often his mind was elsewhere. During classes, he stared into space, his thoughts wandering between worrying about his mother and grieving his father. Lori did everything she could to cheer him up, inviting him to walk in the park, making him his favorite food, writing him little notes to find in his textbooks, but nothing seemed enough to fill the void that consumed him. "Lucas, you can't keep going like this," Lori told him one day while they were sitting in the university cafeteria. She looked at him with a mix of concern and tenderness. "I know you're carrying a lot, but you need to take care of yourself, too. You can't be the only one holding on to all of this." Lucas looked up from his cup of coffee, his tired eyes reflecting the emotional exhaustion he felt. "I don't know how, Lori, everything seems to be falling apart. My father is gone, my mother. She's getting worse, and I feel like I can't do anything about it. I can't let them down." "You're not failing. You're here, fighting for them. But Lucas, you need help. You don't have to face it all alone. I'm here. Your teachers are willing to support you, and I'm sure there are more people who want to help you if you give them the chance." Lucas nodded slowly, though the idea of asking for help was difficult for him. He had taken on the role of protector, of responsibility, and he felt that depending on others would be a sign of weakness. But Lori's words began to resonate with him. Maybe, just maybe, it wasn't wrong to admit that he couldn't handle everything. That night, as he made dinner for his mother and Lily, he allowed himself a moment to breathe. He looked at his mother, who was resting on the couch with Lily curled up beside her, and felt a mix of love and desperation. He knew he had to find a way to move on, not just for them, but for himself. She decided she would speak to the college principal the next day to explain her situation and find some way to balance her studies and her responsibilities at home. She would also seek medical help for her mother, something beyond what they had done so far. In the meantime, she would cling to Lori's constant presence, allowing herself to accept the comfort she offered. Lucas knew the road ahead would be difficult, but he was willing to face it. Although sadness remained a constant shadow, he began to glimpse a small spark of hope, thanks to the love and support of those around him. Lucas knew the road ahead would be difficult, but he was willing to face it. Although sadness remained a constant shadow, he began to glimpse a small spark of hope, thanks to the love and support of those around him.